I was walking up the street the other day, and one of my neighbors was in his yard, and his little Shih Tzu was in the yard with him, and no fence in the yard. And I'm walking with Priscilla, who weighs more than I do by 10 pounds, and Mona, and this Shih Tzu is coming at Priscilla, right? Barking her head off. God. So I'm like, okay, Priscilla's never attacked a dog or done anything, but she wants to play with the dog. But if the dog goes aggressive on her, she goes aggressive back, right?
How do you stop that?
I'm like, could you get your dog? And he's like, why don't you control your dog? And I'm like, my dog's on the leash. Your dog is not on the leash. Your dog is walking from your yard into the street after my dog. And you're telling me to control my dog? My dog is currently under control, but if your shit dog comes up to my dog and my dog bites your dog because your dog's off the leash, that's your fucking problem. And I've been really friendly with this neighbor forever. And I was like, seriously, don't blame me because I have a big dog. Yeah. That's what you're doing, is you're saying you have a large dog, so you're an asshole. Yeah. Instead of going, oh, her dogs are leashed and controlled and being walked, and maybe my dog is not so well-mannered and walking out of the yard and barking. The fucking thing was barking its head off at Priscilla. I mean, like, what the hell are you doing on my block? Kind of like crazy. So I was like, I can't. There's only so much I can do to manage a 140-pound dog. If your shit 15-pound dog is attacking her, then maybe your dog deserves to be bitten in half. That's what I kind of feel like. Right. It's kind of a jerk. Did you start, Halston?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, well, not the intended topic of the day, but my mom's kind of like that Shih Tzu. How about yours? So we're going to talk about our moms today because this is a crazy coincidence. The three of us have very similar moms and very similar dads, which is really crazy that we have this set of parents that are alarmingly similar, especially the dads.
Yes.
The dads are alarmingly similar to have these moms that are also pretty similar.
Well, it's also weird because your dad's girlfriend and my dad's wife are exactly the same.
Same human being. Like physically,
yeah,
and emotionally and mentally, I think they may have been twins separated at birth. No joke. Like I kept saying, my dad and Sue were coming to visit last summer, and I kept saying to Lynn and Eric, I can't wait for you to meet them because they are your dad and Dee. They are the same people. It's PJ and Dee. There's Jimmy and Sue. They're the same exact people.
Yeah.
And when my dad and Sue walked into Eric and Lynn's house, Eric was like, oh my God. They're the same human beings. It's crazy. It's crazy.
It is truly funny.
So to say we did not have typical moms, I think would be an understatement. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Massive.
What's typical?
What's typical?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not typical, I'll tell you that. Like, my mom, definitely not typical. But my mom had problems.
Yeah, my mom had problems. Did your mom have problems?
None.
None?
She has millions.
So what problems did everybody's moms have? Do you feel comfortable talking about your mom's problem? Okay, good. What problems did she have, Lynn?
My mom's an alcoholic.
Like, what kind of alcoholic? Like quantify that.
Like, get up and be drunk by 6 a.m.
By 6 a.m.?
Oh, yeah. As a little kid, I was setting my alarm, getting myself ready for school, cooking my breakfast, making my lunch, cooking, Like,
quantify that, too. How old were you?
Elementary school. I was walking to elementary school and packing my lunch and doing everything myself.
Isn't that crazy?
Because my dad worked nights.
Right.
So he was gone, and I don't know if she stayed up the whole night. I don't know what her schedule was. I just know in the morning she was already tanked. Yeah.
And she'd stay tanked all day?
Yeah. When I came home from school, she was passed out.
And what was she drinking?
You remember like wine used to come in those like green glass bottles, like
the jug.
Oh the jugs. Yes,
she drank jugs of wine.
Jugs of wine and beer.
How's she not diabetic? I mean,
she might be.
Who knows? Maybe she is, right?
Who knows?
So you don't have a relationship with her now?
No. I've tried like to reconnect several times, but every time it's been a disaster. So I'm like, I have kids now. I can't put them through this.
So, but she is alive.
She's, as far as I know.
As far as I know.
Yeah, as far as I know.
Would you get the call?
Well, see, here's the thing. So she started dating someone like when I was in maybe high school, high school, early college. And high school, because I had to like see her when I was in high school. And, and so, because my parents got divorced, my dad had full custody of me.
How old were you when they divorced?
13.
Okay.
And so I would go and I would, she ended up dating this guy who actually was an uncle of a girl I went to elementary school with.
Yeah.
And super awesome guy.
Right.
I don't know what he was doing with her. Like in terms of like, he was way too good for her. But he's passed away.
Oh.
And so he would call me.
Right.
But I don't know if I don't know. I'm sure on her cell phone, she has like daughter or something. That's
daughter.
I don't know.
Daughter in case of emergency only.
Yeah, no, exactly.
But you're an only child.
I am.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm an only child. Also, Sam is not. But that is an added element to this type of relationship with your mom, because I don't have a relationship with my mom either, although I have a relationship with her sister and her mother, who is still living, thank God. So if something happened to my mom, I would know about it. And my mom lives in such a small town. Sometimes she lives in Atlanta, from what I understand, that somebody would tell me. I think.
You'd find out.
And there's so many cousins. My Aunt Joanne, God love her, that woman calls me for everything. She's my great aunt. She's my mom's dad's brother's sister, wife, right? So not aunt by blood, aunt by marriage.
Okay.
And she'll call me from time to time. Leanne, do you know that Leela May's in the hospital? I don't know if anybody's called you, but Leela May's in the hospital. So she's at Birmingham, and you need to call this number. And I'm always so grateful for Joanne. And her daughter Sheila will do the same thing.
That's
so good. I think I would find out.
You'd find out, yeah.
But how's that make you feel?
I mean, sometimes I'm sad, but she is who she is. There's one thing, like if she would have ever gotten help,
right?
That's one thing, but she never had a problem. Losing me, getting divorced, she just never had a problem. That's like we had a mutual friend who did have an issue, and she got amazing. Like I'm so impressed with her,
right?
Because she did it probably for herself and her kids,
right? But
her kids are so lucky that she did that for them.
Right.
And I just years of therapy. It's fine.
Right.
It's not fine, but
I was going to say,
I'm tired of paying for therapy, but no, it makes me sad. It makes me sad because my kids don't have a grandmother. I didn't have a grandmother. I remember the first time like my mom said, "Oh, your grandma's coming." I'm like, I have two grandmas because my dad's parents are divorced. So I have, and remarried. So I have two grandmothers on his side. I'm like, I have grandmas. She's like, no, my mom. I was like, oh, okay. She's going to come. She's going to stay for a week. Totally excited. She comes. She stays for 1 hour. And that was all I ever saw for her my entire life.
Why?
I don't know.
She had no relationship with her daughter?
I don't know. I was too young. Like I was like, 6 or 7. I don't know exactly what went on, but she was there for like 1 hour and then left.
Oh my God. Did you ever try to find her? Is she dead?
I'm sure she is.
Did you ever try to find her?
No.
Wow.
No. I was sick. Like, I don't even know her name.
You don't know her name?
No.
Wait, your mother never told you her mother's name?
That's correct.
Oh my God. That's crazy, Lynn.
It is. And she has a brother and a sister, I think, and I never met them.
Wow. What happened in that family?
Well, it trickles down.
Yeah, exactly. But what happened? What happened in that family?
No idea.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't believe that. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. Do you know your mom's siblings' names?
No.
Do you know your mom's maiden name?
I do. I do. It's Curtis. It's not,
It's
well, I take that back.
Super
I
unique.
actually don't know if that's her maiden name or she was married once before my dad.
She was?
She was, yeah. So
oh my God, Lynn.
So I don't know if that's I don't know if that's her like first married name or if it's her actual maiden name.
Right. I know my mom's been married 6 times, and in between every marriage, she goes back to my dad's name, which is really weird.
Oh, yeah, that's weird.
And finally, I think after the 5th, she went back to her maiden name. But I used to do this joke. I know, right? I used to have this joke in college, or after college, where I would name her name, maiden name, my dad's name, second husband's last name, dad's name, third husband, dad's name, fourth husband, dad's name, and then I lost track. I can't remember all their names now. There's just so many.
Yeah, no, that's crazy.
There's so many of them, but That's crazy. So she was married before your dad.
Yeah.
And how did she and your dad hook up? How did that happen?
Through a mutual friend of some sort.
Was she really pretty?
I don't think so. I mean, no, I don't think so. I mean, look, by the time like every little kid thinks their mom's beautiful.
Of course.
But by the time like I was maybe able to determine like a little more objectively,
right?
She'd done such damage to herself with the everyday drinking. So
bless her heart.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, that's sad. It's sad to see anyone go through that.
It's sad to see someone in that depth of pain.
Yeah.
Because I believe someone who drinks to that extent is in so much pain.
Yeah.
And the pain is bottomless. And if she's been doing this forever, how do you even come out of that pain? Like, how do you even say, this is about, just as a hypothetical, this was about my uncle who molested me.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And how do I heal that when you've just made this gaping hole? I mean, clearly she's destroyed every personal relationship that she was given by God or whoever you want to say. I mean, her siblings, her parents, her daughter, these men. That's really tragic. It's so tragic that people can't understand that pain is universal.
Right.
And that things happen to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that depth of pain is valid, and you're not alone. I think they feel like they're the only one in pain.
Yeah. I mean, my dad, like, he has checked her into places, and he has done everything he possibly could. Mm-hmm. And then there was an incident, and he was like, there was nothing else they could do.
Do you want to talk about the incident?
Oh, sure.
Okay, what was the incident? You can't say then there was an incident and have me not ask you what was the incident.
So my mom, my mom's alcoholic, and a lot of times alcoholics are abusive.
Right.
And my mom wasn't great.
Right.
And she, her and I, like, we've gotten into physical fights and everything. And a lot of times my dad doesn't know about it, because when my dad's like, he comes home and he's sleeping, he needs to sleep because he drives a truck. He needs to be, he needs to do that. And so she came home, was 13, and so she comes out, and I don't even know what she's just a nut. And so she said, "You fucked the whole school." I was 13, and I'm like, bitch, you're out of your fucking mind. So as
you fucked the whole school.
Yeah, I did. At 13. At 13.
That's amazing.
That's very
active. Boy, you were busy.
Wow.
I was busy. Get shit done.
Holy cow. Get shit done.
So my dad had a long time ago put a lock on my door, because my mom would come into my room while I was at school, and she'd take our bills, like all the bills that come in, and she would hide them in my room. And she'd also hide her alcohol in my room. And then she would tell my dad that I was stealing mail, and I was taking the bills, and that's why they're always late, because so she wasn't paying the bills. And she would hide her alcohol and say, "Oh, she's drinking too." I'm like, and my dad's like, "All right, no." So I got a lock on my door. Like early on.
To lock your mom out.
To lock my mom out.
Oh my God.
So it was my
crazy, Lynn.
So it was my safe space.
Well, yeah. Thank God your dad did that.
No, exactly. It took me an hour to pick out the doorknob. That's another story. But anyways, so she comes and she says that, and she's coming after me, and I'm closing my door, and she throws a Dr. Pepper can at me. And it hit, so my door is like this, like you obviously can't see it on radio, and so it kind of ricochets and it hits my wall. And on my wall is this clock that my uncle had made for me. He's a woodworker, and he had passed away like not too much before that.
Right.
And broke my clock.
Oh no.
And I was like
devastated,
pissed. And I'm laughing at this because I'm like, you were so out of your mind saying this. And so then my dad comes home, and she's coming. My dad like gets in, he's like, what the hell is going on? And she's coming at him with a thermos bottle. And he's in my door frame, and he puts his arm to block it. And she's so drunk, she stumbles back, and she goes back, and she hits her like head on the door frame, and it cuts her ear, because it's how she landed. And she goes, right. You did it. That's it. You're going to jail. I'm calling the cops. So she calls 911.
Oh my God.
My husband's attacking me, hangs up. So of course, like every fire truck, ambulance, police in the area descend.
Oh my God. And this is terrible.
At this time, it was like they didn't ask questions. They just took him, arrested him, she's going to, so I call my grandma. I'm like, you got to come get me.
Yeah.
So she comes up, and she's getting, oh my God, he abuses me, all this stuff. Because, you touch her because of all the years of drinking,
sugar,
it'd break. She'd bruise.
Yeah.
And she's covered in bruises. And my dad's like the most gentle, passive person in the world.
He's very sweet.
And they take him, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck you. I took every bit of cash I could find, every checkbook I could find, everything. And I left that house, and I never went back.
Are you kidding? Mm-mm. Where'd you go?
I went to my grandma's. I never came back.
You never lived with your dad again?
No, my dad moved out, obviously,
with your grandmother,
with me,
and left her there.
And left her there
with a house.
Well, yeah, and then they got a divorce, obviously. And that's not true. I went back once and had 1 hour to gather all my stuff that I could.
Wow.
And never went back.
Wow, Lynn.
Yeah. Wow.
At 13.
At 13.
I don't think it's a coincidence, by the way, that it took you an hour to pick out that doorknob. You know why? I'll tell you why. I think it was psychological. Because no matter how bad she is, she's your mother.
Yeah.
And to lock her out of your room has got to be, to the child inside of you, a disobedience or a betrayal of your mother. So that's a hard decision for you to make. Even though logically, in your front brain, you're like, I totally need to lock my door.
Yeah.
That little bitty part of you, your mother is in you all the time. Always, whether you like it or not.
True.
She's there. So that betrayal, I don't think that was a coincidence. But that is a huge deal that happened. That's terrible.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know. I knew that your mom had thrown a Dr. Pepper can at you, but I did not know about
I hate the damn soda. My kids love it.
Right?
I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Well, it is the best soda made, I have to say. But I'll think twice before I drink it again.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Maybe when it's empty, I'll throw it.
Okay, there you go.
Ode to Lynn.
Just make sure you ricochet it off the door.
Oh, totally. And that's crazy.
Yeah.
So then how do you think... when you went to your grandmother's, how did you feel? Did you feel relieved or safer or angry, or how'd you feel?
Pissed. I was mad. I was mad because here I am. I'm leaving my house because she just did this shit thing.
Right.
And I knew at that point I wasn't going to go back.
Right.
I knew there's no coming back from this. My dad was arrested. We had to get him out of jail. And, I just knew that there was no going back.
Right.
But I was actually kind of relieved because my dad is such a good person, and he tried to get her help. He would not, I don't know if he would ever have left her had it not been for that event.
Right.
He would have still kept trying, I think.
Because he's a loyal guy.
He's loyal, and he loved her. And at one point in time, things must have been great.
Right. Yeah. Isn't that the head scratcher? You go, at one point in time.
Yeah.
I mean, they were great enough to make me. Mm-hmm. I mean, clearly they didn't have sex again since it was just me. But at one point, it was great.
No, I think that is gotten. I think the alcohol had gotten bad. She had miscarriages and things like that. So I think that
was part of the pain.
Part of that, of course, that was part of the pain. But the drinking was happening before that.
Right.
So I don't know what spawned that.
Right. Where's the root?
Yeah.
Because if I think. For a lot of alcoholics, clearly not for all of them, but I think, or addicts, I think it starts with some kind of root pain.
Of course.
And if you don't deal with that root pain, then you'll always struggle with trying to medicate that, in some way or another. That's really sad. What is one good thing you got from her?
I do think that I'm involved in the kids things. As shitty as she was, she did run my Girl Scout troop.
She did?
She did.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she did.
Was she drunk when she did it?
You know what? Probably
a little tipsy. So
honestly,
she could get through?
Probably. I mean, because she just always was. And I didn't know this until just probably maybe 10 years ago. My best friend in elementary school, her family was didn't have a lot of money, and I guess one year they didn't have enough money for a Christmas tree or for Christmas, and I did not know this at all. My friend told me, I don't know, way out when I was out of college, everything. So it was a long time ago, and she said that my mom had bought them a Christmas tree and stuff for Christmas,
Right.
And dropped it off. And, you know, it was like, it was kind of like no one said anything. Like,
right.
Her family appreciated it, but they didn't ever mention it.
It was just unspoken.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I think I'm kind of generous like that with my friends.
You are very generous.
And so I think my dad is too, but I think I got that kind of stuff from her.
Right.
So, yeah.
Do you think you've forgiven her?
No.
No. How come?
I mean, I'm sure people will jump on me for this. There's still part of me that's like, if she loved me enough, she would have gotten the help. Mm-hmm. Like, there's still a part of me that's like that.
Yeah.
And that's why with our mutual friend, I'm like, that's so amazing for her to have done that for her kids.
Right.
And so there's part of that, and you know, and she has said things like, you destroyed my life. And, you know, like, it's hard to hear.
Yes, it is.
So I balance back and forth, like, part of me is always gonna be like, if you love me, you would have gotten help, because she had the opportunity, because there were people around her that surrounded her that tried to get her the help, and she just knocked, you know, she just kind of, I don't have a problem.
She couldn't do it.
And just at this age, still not acknowledging her role in anything makes it really hard to forgive her. I just don't think about her very often.
Right. Well, she hasn't been in your day to day in a long time.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And then when she calls and I see it on myself, and I'm like, decline. Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard. Does it make you sad or angry or both?
Both.
Yeah.
Because she has 2 amazing grandchildren.
Yeah.
Who she's never met. And she didn't know I got married. Someone else told her I got married. Someone else told her I had kids. Like, it was never me. Because so I invited her to my high school graduation, because I'm like, she's my mom, I should, whatever.
Yeah.
Give her the invitation, whatever. We had tickets. I had to give her a ticket.
Right.
Because our school was limited in seating, whatever.
Sure.
So I give it to her, and she of course doesn't show up. And then she says, oh, I was there, I saw. I said, really? What color was I wearing? And she goes, black. I go, what color were the guys wearing? Black. Okay.
They weren't wearing black?
No, they weren't. I was wearing white. So it was kind of a little hard to, like,
yeah,
you know,
slightly different color.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, I thought you were wearing purple. I thought you were wearing black, but it was really purple. It's black and white.
No,
like,
yeah,
you know,
it's pretty black and white.
Yes, no, exactly. And she, like, held steadfast. She was there. I was wearing black, and I was like, all the girls wore white. All the boys wore black.
Right.
So no,
you were not there.
You were not there. And she was like, no, I was there, and how dare you? I was like, okay, whatever.
So if there was one thing you could say that you got from her that's negative, that you do, that you go, that's just like my fucking mom, what would it be?
I think I don't think I'm very patient sometimes.
Okay.
Like with the kids.
Right. Because
I see it, I'm like, God, you don't realize how good you have it.
Right.
Like, when I cook dinner and they don't like appreciate it. They're like, oh, I don't want to eat meatloaf, or I don't want to eat what. I'm just like, I cooked you dinner. At your age, I was cooking my own self dinner.
Right.
And it's like that kind of stuff. Like, so it's not that I got it from her, but it makes me a little more upset than maybe a normal person, because I don't know, because
your life experience as a child is such that now it's so juxtaposed with your own home life that you feel like they don't have any kind of appreciation of what you went through.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
And it's not fair to them. And I know it's not fair to them. I'm just like, you guys just have to realize, like, things are different. You have it really good.
Yeah, they do. All our kids have it really good.
So it's that kind of thing.
They do.
I'm sure I've picked up a lot of other negative things from my mom.
Oh, we all do. That's why I want to ask.
I'm not an alcoholic, though, so
you're not only, on the weekdays.
On the weekend. Just kidding.
No, you are clearly not an alcoholic.
Only when your husband's around.
Everybody's an alcoholic when he's around.
Exactly.
Sam, tell me about your mom.
Oh, God. Well, mine was not an alcoholic, but she was crazy religious. So she picked her addiction in a different way. She did a lot of drugs when she was growing up, although she denied it, even though I have like pictures of her with black eyes. Like there's no way you were sober in this picture as a teenager. So she took the born again Christian route, which was...
But she took that when you were a child, or...
She took that actually when she was a child, before she had me.
I didn't know that.
And she was 16. She turned 17 less than a month after she had me. So she took that route, I think before I'm not sure at what point in time before she had me, but it went in and out of its phases of how bad it got. Probably got the worst when I was a teenager.
So explain what born again means. I know most people probably know, but just explain it to the best of your ability.
To the best of my knowledge, it's like you are choosing, you're not born into a religion. Like you're choosing to be reborn as, a child of Christ or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
I because of that upbringing, really, pushed away a lot of religion and didn't want to talk about it or didn't want to be any part of it. So,
well, it's very extreme, right?
It's very extreme.
They take the interpretation of the Bible to an extreme point.
Yes.
Like no sex before marriage, like sex only for procreation.
Yeah.
No drugs, no, it's very rigid, right? And very, unforgiving. Coincidentally.
Yes.
And if Jesus is forgiveness, them born agains ain't good at it.
Yeah.
They just ain't good at it.
Yeah.
They're just really rigid. And if you don't follow the letter of their law, so to speak, then you are shunned and shamed and pushed aside. Is that an accurate?
Very accurate to her.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if all of her friends, I'm not sure who of her friends are born agains or just actual Christians. So she definitely walked a very tight rope.
Right.
And, I'm pro-life, but I've had 5 abortions. Like,
she did or you did?
She did.
Wait, what?
Like, okay, wait. So when she was, I'm sorry. So are you the oldest?
I'm the oldest.
Okay, so she has you right before her 17th birthday.
Right before my 17th birthday.
Is she married?
Her and my dad were married.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then born again, so I'm just...
Yeah, no. And I should ask my dad, although I don't know if he would remember this because I'm not sure at what mental state he was in at that point in time. But then she had my brother, one of my brothers, a little over like 13 months later.
Wait, so how many kids are there from your mom?
From my mom, there are 5 of us.
5. How many have Lance as a dad?
Just 2 of us.
Just 2. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So then you and Lance, and then 2 more from someone else?
So then she remarried and she had one of my brothers. And then she had another one of my brothers that she put up for adoption. And then she remarried my stepdad and had my sister.
A 3rd time. Mm-hmm. So 3 marriages.
3 marriages.
Right. She was rigid.
Very.
Yeah, because if you can't work something out, you leave.
Yeah.
And that sounds like what she did.
Oh, yeah.
Is it?
Therapists, friends, all of it. Like marriages, all of it. If it wasn't working or if somebody saw into her or confronted her, it was, you were done. It's over.
So your mom sounds more similar to my mom than Lynn's mom because my mom was that way too.
Yeah.
But keep talking.
Yeah.
Keep talking about your mom.
Yeah, no, it was quite a spectacular upbringing and really through my adulthood. It was very up and down. And I was not anything like her. I didn't believe I was anything like her. I should rephrase that.
We like to believe we're not.
Right. And I didn't want to be anything like her.
Right.
But it was all religion. You're going to marry somebody from the church. You are you're going to go to hell if you do this, if you don't, set your ways right with Jesus.
Mm-hmm. No promiscuity.
Mm-hmm. None of that.
Like natural, I'm a teenager, promiscuity, not
right.
anything except
no,
just
not
you don't
fucking
sleep
the whole
with
school
anybody.
at 13.
No.
Well, that was left to you, Lynn.
Exactly.
There's
Lynn
only
fucks the
one.
whole school.
Only one of us.
I did
can
not
do
get
that.
right with Jesus, apparently.
You and Jesus had some prolific things to talk about, apparently. A lot of forgiveness you needed to ask.
Sorry.
So, 5 abortions?
I actually don't know how many abortions, but I know I'm pretty sure there was 1 or 2 before me, and there was another one after me, and I'm not sure if it was between me and my brother or after my brother.
So she liked to have sex.
She was fertile myrtle.
She was fertile myrtle.
Yeah, for sure.
You might be fertile myrtle too.
It's very positive that I'm a fertile myrtle as well. However, no abortions, and I have 4 kids, and no kids that I've given up for adoption.
Yes.
Unless it was out of my knowledge somewhere, but.
Well, somehow you must have gotten something from that born again, right?
Yeah.
You're walking a good line.
Well, it's interesting because I always, for my entire life, have walked away with thank you, Mom and Dad, for telling me who I don't want to be.
Right.
This is not what I want. And
so what was your biggest struggle with her? Like, Lynn's is clear. She was an alcoholic. She was totally disconnected. What was your biggest struggle with her?
My biggest struggle with her was that she was incapable of seeing me for who I am, instead of for the person that she wanted me to be.
Right.
So, we are actually very similar in many ways. That took her passing away for me to realize that and to actually be able to embrace that. We're very passionate about what we believe in. It just so happens to be that we believe in different things.
Interesting.
But we will fight tooth and nail for those passions and those beliefs. And I never really thought of that as something that she gave to me or that came from her. Mm-hmm. So, when you're faced with a dying parent and death, you relook at everything that you've set your life up or how you've looked at it in the past.
Right. Now, how do you think it affected you that she would not accept you as who you are? How did that affect you?
It was, I actually don't know. It pissed me off. It really upset me that she wouldn't, but I don't know that, I'm not sure how it would have shaped me as a human being that she didn't see me.
So you don't think it affected you significantly that she didn't see you, or
it affected us with our relationship, in terms of our relationship. I see. When we were together, like, we could just talk about how the sun is shining today. Like, and we couldn't, right. We couldn't talk about, maybe what's happening with my kids or maybe what's happening with me.
I see.
Because she just didn't see that I could be doing it differently, or that I believe in accepting everybody, and
her religion doesn't allow that.
She did not.
Right.
Yeah. So,
and because you fight tooth and nail, each of you, that caused a really big problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Just because I don't have the patience for that, nor do I have the time. So it's okay for us to have different beliefs, but if you aren't even willing to see that possibility, mm-hmm. then we shouldn't even talk. We shouldn't have any relationship whatsoever. But then that's hard because she's my mom. So there's the hope that maybe one day she'll see it, or one day she'll come around, or one day she'll change. And, so keeping that open line of communication to just be disappointed again and again and again because she was not coming around.
That's what you did? Or
yeah.
Okay.
I did for a long time, actually, until I kept an open relationship with her, even though every time things maybe looked better, she would show me that they weren't, and she was the same human being that she always was, mm-hmm. Which would be very hurtful.
Bricks and bouquets, they call it.
Yep.
Uh-huh. She'd throw bricks at you and then bring you a bouquet.
Yep.
You go, oh, the bouquet, that was so nice.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you get hit upside the head with another brick and you go, fuck, I thought we were in bouquets.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah. Totally.
And then a brick and then a bouquet. It's a sign of someone with a personality disorder, borderline personality disorder.
Oh, yeah.
So that's one of the things that it's one of the telltale signs of if that's how you feel your relationship functioned.
Yeah.
Then that person probably had something going on mentally.
I mean, there's no way to know now. But bipolar, schizophrenia. Like,
I bet she just had something as simple as, not that it's simple, a personality disorder.
Yeah.
Borderline, because what you explain is, that she couldn't accept anything other than her own beliefs. If she went against kind of her image or her thought of what you should be, you were rejected. And that's very much in line with narcissism as a personality disorder, which is what I believe is wrong with my mom, that there's a rejection because they believe everything is a reflection on them, everything. So they can't disconnect from, oh, that's a reflection on Sam.
Right.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with me. That doesn't exist in their brain. They can't do that. And it's caused by trauma, usually, or caused by being raised by a parent who is narcissistic, one of the two. And that narcissism kind of changes who that child is, and they become narcissistic as well.
Yeah.
What do you think you got from her that's bad?
I mean, there are, I'm sure, a few things. I do think one of them that's bad is that I can be rigid in some of my beliefs as well. Mm-hmm. Not to the extent of hers. That would be the biggest thing that stands out to me. I can't think of, I'm sure I'll think of more like after we finish this conversation and I'm like, oh, that was it. Yeah, that too. It's funny though, because as nasty as she was to me, she would tell her friends and my friends how much she loved me and how proud of me she was. And like, she's so amazing. Look at all these amazing things she's doing. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? You don't, what?
I have the same. Yeah.
Like she was at my wedding telling Bill's, my husband's friends, like, all of these amazing things about me that she'd never said to me.
Right.
So it was such an interesting...
But now how does that affect you? Do you go, why the fuck can't you just say that to me? Or do you go, well, that's nice that she believes that? How does that affect you?
For a long time, it affected me. For a long time, it really pissed me off. And I thought, why can't you say that to me? And why wouldn't you say that to me?
Why would you hold yourself from me like that? That's the way I would feel.
Yeah.
When my mom, I'd go, why wouldn't you give that to me? I deserve that, because if you really feel that, then a child deserves to feel that their mother is proud of them, and not in a 7 deadly sin way, but like just proud of them, instead of feeling like you're a piece of shit all the time, because all you get is the rigidity and the negativity and how you're not complying. It would make me feel almost a loss. Did that ever affect you that way?
Yeah, it did. I mean, I would hold out for the hope of her actually saying these things to me. And I mean, even up until when she was dying, she had all these conversations with my siblings or with my grandma or with, friends. Just these, I'm sorry, apologizing for different situations. And she never really had that conversation with me, but the way in which she went about talking to me was very different. And I was able to kind of to take it as an apology or some form of it. Mm-hmm. And I had a thought that I was thinking. I mean, she was in her hospital bed and she had hugged Dakota, and she immediately turned to me and said, I hug Dakota the way I wish I could hug you. And I felt like that was in her own way, like
an apology.
This is an apology. This is the way that I really feel. And so I was able to kind of take that and understand. I also, because I'm the oldest, and I also felt it was very competitive. I didn't have a baby when I was 16. I lived my life. I married somebody successful. I was in a marriage. We bought a house. She then had to buy a house bigger than hers, more expensive than what they could afford. It was kind of this long time, I think, competition on her part, not on mine, of seemingly my life was going the way that she maybe had hoped hers would go.
Right.
The white picket fence.
Right.
And that may have been hard for her to, you know, come to terms with.
Right.
In being able to actually part us from each other. Like, I'm a different human being. You chose this route.
Right.
I chose this one. I didn't make you have me. That was your choice.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So
how fascinating that she said that, though, about Dakota. I hugged her the way I would like to hug you.
Yeah.
But why couldn't she then? Just do it.
Yeah. I mean, at the end, you know, that was in February and she passed away in June. And at the end she could, but it was a long time of, I think she had maybe had such a story with her own self that that stopped her from being able to give that to me. But I don't feel, you know, I mean, yeah, at some point in time I will probably have hopes as I continue to grieve her, but I really do think she apologized in the best way that she could to me.
Right.
And I don't think anybody sets out to be a terrible person.
Of course not. No.
I think something just
Lynn's
happens.
mom might have. But
maybe.
No, joking. But
you know,
no,
I think something happens. Something happens.
Yeah.
You have all the best intentions and something, life happens.
Yeah. That's
and
true.
it goes to shit. And so.
Yeah. And some people, I'm always fascinated by what breaks some people and it doesn't break others. Why does it break that person and not some other person? Like, the reason my mom is the way she is because someone broke her when she was 5.
Yeah.
And I go, but other people were broken in a similar fashion at 5, but didn't choose the route that she did to survive, right?
Right.
So was it something else circumstantial in her house? Was it something in her genetic makeup? Was it something with her relationship with her siblings? What was it? Why? Was it a lack of support from her parent? I don't understand what makes her different than someone else who experienced a similar thing and doesn't have a personality disorder because of it, you know?
Yeah.
I've always been really fascinated by that. Let me finish talking about your mom and then we'll talk about mine. What did you get from her that was positive?
I mean, I think I touched on that my passion runs deep. And I think that was something that very much is rooted in her or from her.
Do you think you've forgiven her?
I do think that I have forgiven her. I'm sure there is stuff that I have not that will, you know, in future years come out to play, but I had to have a fast, like, I had 4 months to come to terms with. And
you did a beautiful job, I have to say.
Yeah.
Listening and talking to you during that time period was really hard for you. Very emotional, and you were very much maturely aware of the limited time you had and handled yourself beautifully, I think, during that time when your mom was, you know, fading.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's really hard. I think about that for myself sometimes and wonder how I would handle that. I'd like to think I would be as graceful, because you were very graceful during that time.
Well, thank you. Well, I never wanted to have any regrets. So You're lucky knew that I was walking right. I knew that I needed to walk in, and you know, I had said to myself when I was walking in, I had ended my relationship with her, and in November and in February I got the call that she was in the hospital. And before I walked into the hospital, I said, if she's the same person I left in November, then I totally made the right decision. I'm good with this. I know that everything's working out the way that it's supposed to. And I walked into the hospital seeing a different human being, like seeing actually the person that I had always wanted as a mother, for a long time. and so I think that was really helpful. You know, when you're put to your death sentence,
right,
you have to have a come to Jesus.
Yeah.
And
a for real one. Not a for real. I'm born again.
Right, like,
but for real.
What are you doing? This is your last time, your last chance. So,
but what caused your break in November?
Somebody very near and dear to me said to me, essentially, she said, you have to end your relationship with her. You can do what you want, but every time you see her, you peel back the bandage and allow her to shoot the gun wound one more time. And then you put the bandage back on. And then the next time it happens again and again and again. And at what point in time are you going to stand up for yourself and say it's not okay? You can't do this to me anymore.
What was the gun wound?
I mean, a lifetime of everything. Just not being my mom, not being able to see me, not being, just not being here and capable. She had a hard time with me being happy. So that was a punishment to me from her. Like, I remember being at my wedding and Billy was 1.5. Some friends had taken him. He was fine, but he's crying because he wants to be with me. And I was like, no, it's fine. Take him. And my mom said to me, he's going to be in therapy for life because he's going to have abandonment issues.
Oh my God.
It's like, I'm getting married right now. Like, I'm getting married in a couple of hours and they're just keeping him where he's totally fine. We're on a fucking beach, by the way, like in Mexico. He's totally fine.
Yep. They're
keeping him so that I can get ready and get into my wedding dress. But thank you for telling me that my son's going to have abandonment issues for his life. He's not the one that will have abandonment issues out of the four. But, it was like every time there was maybe something happening to me that was happy, she would have to, she'd have to tear it down. So the wounds were that of just, things are going right. You're a terrible human being.
Right.
You're doing this. Just she said some very hurtful, mean things about me.
Okay. That explains to me the Band-Aid a little better.
Yeah.
I understand now a little better.
Yeah. Like, you're an awful mother. You're a bitch.
She would say that to you.
She would say that actually to me.
Yeah. Could you imagine talking to any of your daughters that way?
Never.
No.
Not in a million years would I talk to them the way I was spoken to by my mother. No. Not in a million years, right?
Well, and what's so sad is that I would have continued to let that happen if Billy did not hear that conversation.
So, that's interesting.
Billy did not hear what conversation?
So Billy was in the car with me when my mom was calling me, and I just knew that it was not going to be a good conversation. I shouldn't have taken the phone call. And for some reason I did. Listen, everything happens for a reason. So subconsciously, I hit talk and we talked about the weather. And then she said, I just really need you to know,
oh God,
you are an awful human being.
What?
You are so mean. You are careless. You're a selfish bitch.
Just like that?
How old was Billy?
That was in 2015.
Oh, wow.
So 3 years ago. Yeah. So Billy would have been 12?
Billy was 13.
13.
Yeah.
Shit.
I only say because my mom, that's exactly what happened to my mom. I didn't recognize the number. I took the phone call. Kids were in the car. And that's when I was like, you know what? This is it. I am done.
Well, what did she say?
My mom?
Yes. You can't just say that and not tell me what she said.
That I'm the horrible person, that I destroyed her life. And that everything bad has happened because of me. I said, okay, thanks for calling. Nice talking to you. Click. And then I just never, the kids are like, who's that? I was like, it's nothing.
It's our neighbor.
No, they know our neighbor. But like that happened. So that I took the phone call. I didn't recognize the number. And that happened. And I was like, at that point, I was like, you know what? I cannot do this to myself. Because like you said, you could deal with it. You could handle it. But once your kids get involved.
Yeah, it's not. It's a different ballgame.
So that's where I drew the line. And for me, I was like, you know what? It's done. Every time I think there's a glimmer, Like you said, she does something and it just opens the wounds all over again. And I was like, I gotta do this for my family, for my kids.
Right.
And so, sorry, but that's
the
ironic
same thing.
that it's the same. It's a phone call.
Isn't it ironic? Isn't it ironic that I haven't even told about my mom yet. Wait till you see. They're all the same woman. So once we get to talk about our dads, we're going to go.
Hand us the questions and we get to ask you them?
No, I remember my questions. This is my podcast. So wait, so that conversation happened with Billy.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
Billy was shocked, and he was like, is that how she always is? And I said, yeah. And he was kind of silent for a minute. He said, wow, that's really mean. And I said, yeah. And so we didn't really talk about it again, but then I went on a work trip where my friend said that I needed to end the relationship. So I came home and I told the kids, and I was crying because my kids have a relationship. The girls have a relationship with my mom, or had a relationship with her. And Billy actually, funnily enough, and not really, never wanted much to do with her. So, they know, like kids know things.
Well, Billy's a deep kid.
He is.
He's a really deep kid.
So it didn't affect him, but I came home and I said to the kids, I have to stop talking to Grandma because she's not nice. It's not a nice situation for me. You guys have a relationship with her, and I'm okay with you continuing to have that relationship with her. I just I can't be a part of it. And it was really amazing because Dakota had a really hard time because she felt like she was betraying me if she wanted to see my mom.
Right.
But, they would have had their relationships and their opinions about her eventually. And I didn't want to put my shit on them.
Totally.
So she saw my mom after my mom and I had stopped talking. I did too. I just said hi and that was it. And they continued to, see each other and have a small relationship. Mm-hmm. But so that was in November, and then I got the call in February.
February that she was ill.
Yeah. So,
well, like you said, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And that was for whatever reason, the good Lord needed it to happen that way, for you to have some kind of healing. Sounds like you had a great deal of forgiveness, if not total forgiveness, pretty close to it by the time she went.
Yeah.
And that's a gift.
It was a huge gift.
That's a gift from her to you.
Yeah.
And from the universe to you, and from you to you.
Yeah.
Because forgiveness is very hard. Forgiveness is about, to me, accepting your own responsibility in something. And then when you accept your own responsibility in something, at least in my opinion, it allows you to blame the other party less, so that you can see them as human and say, they're limited.
Yeah.
I'm limited. Look what I did that fucked this up. And even if you're a child, and I know for me, I was not always the best child with my mother, who was a struggle. Mm-hmm. So there were times where I felt really guilty, but then wouldn't let myself see that guilt, because then that meant that she wasn't all bad, that I was bad, which is what she'd been telling me my whole life. You're horrible. So if I go, that was kind of horrible, it was hard for me to not then accept every time she had told me that I was actually horrible when I wasn't.
Right.
So when you can separate that, or at least for me, when I was able to separate out and go, here's my responsibility, I accept responsibility. I apologize to myself and to her for my responsibility. This is your responsibility. And even though it's not okay, I understand that you're limited, and that for me to expect you to be a zebra when you're really an anteater is insane. They're completely different. Yeah. So you be that anteater. I just can't really be in a relationship with an anteater, So my mom and dad married in high school. My mom was 20 when she had me. And from what I understand from friends and family, my mom and dad were really happy. My mom worked in a factory to pay for my dad to go to school to be a mechanic. And then when he became a mechanic and kind of got up and running, he said, what do you want to do? What do you want to do for a career? You don't want to work in the factory, sewing men's suits your whole life. So how can I pay for you to have a career? So she wanted to be a model. So he was like, okay, I'll pay for you to go to Barbizon. So she went to Barbizon to become a model. And I think in her adult life, that's where things started going awry, where she started thwarting her career, and marriage falls apart. Parents divorce when I'm 7. And my mom is... my mom left when I was 4 and went to Chicago and stayed there on and off. She stayed in Chicago more than home from like 4 to 6 years old. And at that point, my dad fell apart, right? He's such a sweethearted guy that I don't know that he knew what was going on. He had a hard time getting her to come home a lot of the times. And, he'd send her money for a flight and she wouldn't take the flight. And so he didn't know what was going on a lot. And he's such a sweet guy. He thought he was supporting her, and she was, I think, really grifting him.
Was she going to Chicago for modeling?
For modeling, yes. Okay. In Chicago, they do a lot, or at that time, they did a lot of commercials and a lot of catalog shoots. And my mom's 5'8", which is, on the shorter end of a model. So that was the perfect market for her. She looked kind of like Cher from the neck down, and from the neck up, she had much softer features than Cher, but beautiful, like really, really exceptionally beautiful woman. One of those women, like when she walked in the room, everybody talked about her. She was that kind of pretty, just naturally. She has naturally curly brown hair. She was just beautiful, really captivating woman. She's very gregarious, very fun, very chatty. Everybody likes her when they meet her because she's just so fun. Can't hold on to a relationship for love nor money. Can't do it. No friends, no husbands, can't hold on to them. So when my parents divorced, and I was already mad at her when she came back and took me from my dad and my entire family system that all live in my same hometown. To this day, she moved me to Atlanta, to the gay community, because she thought, where better to have a little girl than with a bunch of gay men, which was pretty smart. But there's no kids in the gay community. There's no kids. I just grew up on a street with 50 cousins, and she took me to the middle of Atlanta with a bunch of gay men. And I hated her, I hated her for taking me from my family, because I didn't want to leave there. I wanted to stay with my dad. I'd been with my dad. I was so safe and comfortable in Bowden, Georgia. That's what I wanted to be with. My cousin lived next door to me. She's a year older than me. We were so close. So I was really angry for her separating me. But the stuff that was going on between me and her that started when the two of us were by ourselves continued all the way through our life, with the massive controlling. And for instance, it was school picture day. I was a really big tomboy, like Isla. Like, I wore football jersey top with like tough skin pants and the same red Keds tennis shoes with black Keds tennis shoes with red laces every freaking day. That's what I wore every day. And it was torture to brush my hair, and it was torture to get me to shower. And I was not going to look, I was just a tomboy. And, I grew up in the country until she took me to the gay community, which I'm sure all these gay men were like, if I could just get my hands on that little girl for 5 minutes, she would be so pretty, but I was like, no. So we had this school picture day, and my mom's like, you're going to wear a dress today. And I was like, no, I'm not. And she said, yes, you are. Got in a huge fight about me wearing this dress. And finally I was like, I'll wear the dress, but I'm wearing the kids' tennis shoes. And she was like, fine. And then talked about how I would not comply forever. She would
comply.
With complying.
So ridiculous.
She was that way. That's a funny story. But I took 21 vitamins a day, every day, because she believed that was healthy. She made me learn how to meditate at the center, the Maharishi Maheshi Yogi. I was forced to meditate every day. I had to drink cod liver oil and niacin. Niacin is insane. Niacin makes you flush with this rash, because she believed that I needed to be healthy. She was macrobiotic. So I had no sugar. I had no processed foods the entire time I lived with her. And she also monitored my bowel movements. Like if I was constipated, probably because I was taking 21 fucking vitamins a day and drinking goddamn niacin at age 7, right? And I'll never forget this one time I had not pooped in a few days. And she was not going to let me go to school until I pooped. So she put newspaper on the floor in the bathroom and made me squat and watched me to make sure I took a shit.
Wow.
It's pretty controlling. Pretty fucked up.
Tiny bit, yeah.
Where I was like, I don't think this is normal. Like at my age, at that young age.
Yeah.
She was trying to sell a car one time and she took me on the test drive and she was lying so blatantly about this car. Has it been wrecked before? No. Well, I knew that it had. My dad fixed it because he's a mechanic. It was in like a almost totaled wreck. It was not like a fender bender. It was a fucking wreck. She's lying to this guy. How long have you had it? Lie. How much did you pay for it? Lie. Like everything was a lie. And then I got really angry because I had such a moral compass as a kid that I started telling the person trying to buy the car, that's actually not true.
Oh, shit.
That's not true. My dad's a mechanic and he fixed this car. And the whooping I got when I got home, she was like, you will never, ever, ever dispute me again, ever. She used to make me steal things when we go to a restaurant, and she loved serving spoons and like large knives. So if we went to like a restaurant and they had like this large steak knife, she would make me steal it. And I'd go, but I don't want to steal it. And she would say, but if you get caught stealing, you won't get in trouble. So you take it.
Oh my God.
I mean, she was kookaroo. It was great. And, she had regular boyfriends. She was not a promiscuous woman. She didn't have several guys in and out all the time. But she was very open about sex. And she was very open about sex. She would clean her house fully naked in the summer. Like totally naked because it's just hot. And you're like a kid. You don't want to see your mom walking around naked with a vacuum.
Oh, shit.
No.
Listening to Queen. I have so many memories of her putting on Bohemian Rhapsody and cleaning the house from front door to back, totally naked. And, this just isn't normal. This is not a normal childhood, right? So when I got to be an adult and I wasn't following in her footsteps, being open sexually, she accused me of being a lesbian. I think you're probably a lesbian. I'm fucking not a lesbian. I've been fucking my boyfriend since I was 16. I'm not a lesbian. I really like dick. Okay, so but I don't need to be boobs out,
right,
crazy to be normal.
A sexual human being.
I am not shaped like her. I am a short, curvy girl. I've always been short and curvy, not fat. Just curvy. She looked like Cher. Like Cher had like an 18-inch waist. That's a totally different body type than mine. The number of times she told me I was as fat as my Aunt Diane, who weighed well over 200 pounds. I can't even tell you. You're as fat as your Aunt Diane. And I go, I'm not fucking that fat.
Right.
I'm not even fat. I weigh 110 pounds. I'm not fat. You're crazy. But all of this... You're not okay. You're not okay. I do not accept. You're not complying. You're not okay. Not okay. I drank crazy amounts of alcohol from a young age until I was about 22, because to the point where I was unhealthy because I was in so much pain about this person who I had no wiggle room. I couldn't do anything without her having a comment on it. When I was 13, I got to choose who I wanted to live with. So I chose my dad. And she stopped talking to me then for a year and a half. No conversation at all. My dad showed up to my 8th grade graduation in a U-Haul and moved me out. She didn't speak to me that whole week. She came to my graduation, stood in the back. I got several awards. I got like a woodworking award and like all these awards at my huge middle school I was at. She watched and left, never spoke to me. And I drove home with my dad, didn't hear from her for a year and a half. Because I was dead to her, right? She shows up at my homecoming dance, dressed to the nines with a camera, a video camera, which back in 1985 was a really big deal. And everybody's like, oh my God, Judy's here. Oh my God. There's this big hoopla. And I was like, oh my God, that's my mom. Haven't seen her in a while. So you reconnect because you're a teenager and you're like, oh, okay, she's coming back around. We go through this phase again, right? Of everything's okay. I'm managing my relationship with her. And then at 23, she is cheating on her fourth husband and asking me to lie. And I'm going, I'm not lying. I don't lie for myself. I'm not lying for you. You're dead to me. Fuck you. You're dead to me. Don't ever see her, talk to her. She kicks me out on the street in New York City. I was living in New York from the grace of her fourth husband, who was like, what do you want to do? I was like, I'd love to live in New York. And he's like, I'll pay your rent for 6 months. If you pay for everything else, I'll give you 6 months free rent. Here comes Judy. She moves into New York, moves into the apartment that her husband's paying for, which I can't really say no to. She tries to get into my acting class, in the same class, so she can be in my class with me. At that time, I was modeling petites. She tries to get in my modeling agency because she's a model her whole life. And she's like shadowing me and then she starts hooking up with this guy that lives across the street while she's still married. So when I go, I'm not doing that. I mean, this guy's paying for my apartment. I actually really care for him. He's a really good person. He's your best shot at happiness, and you're fucking it up. And so she kicked me out. So I had like 10 days of being homeless in New York. It was a fucking nightmare. So I'm dead again, right? And then right before I met Bert, I was, I guess, about 30. This teacher said to me, you know, you're never going to be whole until you reconnect with your mother. This is a problem, and this is your problem, that you don't have a relationship with your mother. And this is what's holding you back in life. And I believed him because he was someone I trusted to know, you know, about how people function. And so I wrote her a long letter thanking her for all the gifts she'd given me as a person. I never would have left Bowden, Georgia if she hadn't moved me to the gay community in Atlanta. I never would have. Yeah. I never would have, because of her personality, which I think I have if she had been healthy. I'm super happy, and I'm pursuing a life that I never would have pursued if I'd stayed in Georgia. And I'm a really happy person. So I was writing her all this stuff about, you know, how grateful I am and how good it is not how good it is, how grateful I am for everything she gave me, and my apology for anything that I might have done to upset her. And of course she responds and we get back in a relationship. That's okay. Couple of indications that she still may be crazy. She believes that she needs to come see me in LA because she believes she is meant to meet and fall in love with John Voight. Oh. No. But she is tracking him to see when he's in LA, and she will plan her trip to see me based on when he is in LA. So I'm like, okay. So she comes to LA when John Voight's here, never sees John Voight, don't know how she's planning on getting together with John Voight, right?
It's meant to be, though.
But finds this other guy that she knew from her modeling days and is going out on dates with him while she's visiting me. She's leaving the house in like a sheer button-down shirt with a black bra and like black pants that lace from ankle to waist, no underwear, not coming home at night. And I'm like, I thought you were coming to see me. No, she was, but really she was in hot pursuit of something else, right? So we're good until she's living in Florida at the time, knows that Bert's a comic, and believes that she can really help him with his career. Oh. So she is like, I'm going to set you up at a Hollywood party. Like, I haven't been living in Hollywood for years now and been to a million Hollywood parties, but that'd be awesome. Totally do that. So she ends up knowing someone who knows someone who's dating Seth MacFarlane, right? Who of the Family Guy. Okay. So she gets us invited to Seth MacFarlane's girlfriend's birthday party. So awkward. Who wants to do that anyway? But at the same time, my grandmother has a heart attack in Georgia. So I email my mom 2 weeks before the party, and I go, I'm going home to see Granny. I don't think we're going to be able to make this party. Thank you so much for setting it up. I appreciate it, but Granny had a heart attack. I'm going to see Granny. It's my dad's mom. Don't hear from her for like 3 months. Nothing. In that time, I get pregnant. And so I'm like, well, I can't have my mom find out from someone else that I'm pregnant. So I'm calling her because I'm trying to maintain this relationship. So I'm calling her, call me back. I have something really important to tell you. Call her. She never calls me back. So finally I'm like, my wedding invitations have to go out. And she's going to get a wedding invitation and not know any of this. So I sent her an email. And I was like, I've been trying to call you, but I just want you to know, A, I'm getting married, and B, I'm pregnant. The email I got back was so crazy. I let my sister-in-law read it, and she started crying. She went, there is no way that a mother actually speaks to their daughter this way. Mm-hmm. There is no way. You're dead to me. I don't want to know you. I don't want to know your children. I have never known anyone so disrespectful and so selfish in my life. All you think about is yourself. I had a Hollywood party set up for you, and you wouldn't go to that. Are you fucking kidding me? About a Hollywood party? And for months I'd been trying to get in touch with her with no return ever. So I went, that's it. I'm good. I'm going to have kids now. They're not going to have that. No fucking way. No way. So I haven't had a relationship with her at all since I was 33. I'm 40, almost 48. She's tried to come back twice. And no. I'm always cordial to her to the best of my ability, but no. I can't have it because of what you'd said, Lynn. I cannot have that. That would destroy Georgia Kreischer. If she had some kind of yo-yo where my mom showed up and said, you look a little fat in that bikini. Georgia's so sensitive, like Bert. She would take that as truth, and I can't have it. So no matter what I went through, she's not made of that metal. Yeah. I thank God all the time I did not have a sibling. Because if someone had been born with me that's like my dad, they'd be dead. They'd be dead. They'd be a drug addict. There's no way. And I know this kind of that makes her maybe sound not so bad. But she was really bad at making you feel like who you are inherently is wrong. You're never going to be a successful writer. You can't do anything by yourself. I don't even know why you're trying. Those things, the things that she would say.
People are so fascinating.
People are so fascinating. But hers came from trauma.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Hers came from trauma. And I understand that that's where it came from. So in my forgiveness path with her, that has been a big piece for me, is to go, she really didn't choose this route. Someone chose it for her at 5 years old. And when you, with a narcissist, when that develops as a personality disorder, it's a protection. So a narcissist believes that anything that goes against their beliefs is a threat to their very life. So they have to reject it. They have to, or they won't survive. That's how they survive. So once I was able to kind of learn that, I'm going to do another podcast about narcissism next week, I think, and talk about that a little more in depth, because it's a fascinating disorder. Mm-hmm. But when I was able to kind of identify for myself what I believe she has, because she's never been diagnosed. You know, she went to therapy once, and she came home once. This was when she married to her fourth husband. She came home, she was like, my therapist would like to speak with you. No! And I went, okay, no problem. She said, so you're going to come with me to the appointment. I'm not going to be in the appointment. She just wants to speak directly with you. And I went, okay, no problem. So I went to see the therapist, and I don't know what my mother had told her about me. But when it was over, my mother came home and she said, the therapist said, all that's wrong with you is you're a little anxious. I'm not going back.
You weren't broken enough for her.
I was like, wow. So what you're saying is you've been blaming everything on me. And when the therapist determined there was nothing wrong with me except being a little anxious, fuck the therapist. She clearly doesn't know what she's talking about. So, So she's narcissistic. There's things like that where I go, that's the disorder that she has. Narcissists will never believe there's anything wrong with them. So they don't ever get diagnosed because there's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah.
That's part of the disorder, is they believe everything that's going on for them is right. So anybody who questions that is wrong and is rejected. They don't ever usually get diagnosed or get any help.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's not them. It's just like with my mom being alcoholic. It's not her.
No, it's not her fault.
And so I will retract from what I said. Did I forgive her? I probably did forgive her, but it still makes me sad.
Oh, hell yeah. It makes me really sad.
Because alcoholism is a disease. It's not her fault. Still sucks.
Right.
And is it her fault? It's her fault for not getting help because she had it available.
Right.
But so I just want to retract what I said.
Yep.
Oh, hey, Mom. I love you too, Mom.
What are you doing?
I'm talking to my mom. I have such a great relationship with her.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, shut up.
I love you, Mom. I'll see you out here soon.
Shut up. You're a sucker.
He's been waiting to do that.
Yeah, all day.
Yeah.
He's been watching.
I've seen him.
Waiting. He's such a sucker. He was a hard one.
Hey, for real, I'm running up to the top of front. Are you good?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Love you too.
Hey, Lynn, we love you too.
I love you too, Bert.
What about Sam?
I love you, Sam.
Okay. So.
Also, I posted a picture of my dick on Instagram on accident. I didn't mean to, so if you get a lot of texts, Judy just called. Apparently, it was a big mistake.
Yeah. Okay, whatever. So where he's concerned with my mom, when we were first together, he kept saying, I don't understand why you can't reconcile. I don't understand. There's got to be something you can do. And at that point, it was my third time being dead to her, 13, 23, now 33. I was like, there's nothing. Trust me, there's nothing. So one of the times that she tried to reconcile, I was at her mom's house visiting her mom with my kids. My mom's at that point had never seen my kids, and they were like 6 and 8 maybe. And she just walked in the door and went, hey guys, I'm your nanny. And my kids were like, what? And I was like, what? And Bert was like, what? Bert had never met her. She didn't come to our wedding. I was totally dead from her from the time I sent her an email telling her I was pregnant. Totally dead. So she just showed up like nothing had happened. And I shut down so profoundly, exactly the way I shut down as a child. From age 7 to 13, when I lived with her, I was void of personality in any way. I tried to keep myself completely void. I didn't want her to know who I was at all, because who I wasn't safe for her. So I did the same thing. And later that day, Bert was like, I have never seen you do that ever. That was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. It was like someone pulled the plug and your soul drained out of your body. And you just were a physical body just existing. And I went, that was my entire childhood, to keep myself safe. You know, for a fucking woman who is so concerned that I haven't taken a shit, that she makes me shit on newspaper in front of her. There's enough to make you drain your soul out of your body and go, fuck you. Yeah. You're not going to know any part of me. You can't control my bowel movement. I can't control my bowel movement entirely. That's some controlling shit. No pun intended. No pun intended.
It's so crazy. It's so
bizarre.
Crazy.
It's bizarre. So we have this whole meeting with my mom, right? My mom, when we're leaving, she goes, so maybe I'll come to California and see you guys. And Bert goes, maybe not. And she's like taken aback. And he went, we've never seen you before. I don't know why we would see you again. And about 3 weeks later, a letter came in the mail addressed to L. Kreischer. Totally misspelled. Totally recognized her handwriting. And I gave it to Bert and I said, I don't want to know what's in this letter. It's only going to be bad. And it's shit I've already heard a million times. You do whatever you want with it. Burn it, read it, whatever. So he walked in the backyard and read it. And he came back in the house and he was like, that bitch is not allowed in my house ever. Now I understand why you can't have a relationship with her. Now I get it. And I will never ask you to do it again. I have no idea what was in the letter. I didn't read it. But I would imagine it was something similar to the email I got. Right. That basically said, you're the worst human on the planet. And I don't want to know you anymore and you're dead to me. Of course, she shows up again at my grandmother's funeral. And at my grandfather's funeral, same thing as what you're talking about. These 3 women that are her friends come up to me and go, I've heard so much about you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, from where? From your mother. And I'm like, how the hell does she know anything about me? I haven't spoken to her in years about anything personal going on in my life. So she's full of shit. You're an amazing mom. And I'm like, she's out of her cotton picking mind.
I mean, it must just be, well, you're an only child. I just feel like it's such a competition.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's just like but it's so fascinating.
But one-sided,
right?
I'm not in competition.
I just would never. I would never do that with my dog. Like, we're all different human beings.
But at the same time, never do that.
Never.
So to answer the question I asked you guys, how did this affect me?
Yeah.
I know how it affected me. I could not make a decision without that woman's voice in my head for years. I remember being at the grocery store going, I will not buy that butter because that is the butter she made me buy. Now what butter do I buy? And being frozen and not being able to decide what butter to buy because she would not allow me to make decisions on my own. That's one of the ways it affected me. Another way that it affected me, which is what I talked about with Jair, is really believing that I don't deserve the airtime on this planet that everybody else deserves. Because I was put here to be a host to her leech. That's why I was put on this planet. There's a belief in my head that still exists somewhere that I am supposed to be a host for other people to leech. And that's not true. And part of that is good because I think I am a good listener and I'm a good supporter and a good friend. But part of that's really unhealthy. That's another part of it. That it affected me in thinking that I couldn't do anything by myself, that I couldn't, that I wasn't talented enough, pretty enough, thin enough, strong enough to do anything, even though I've disproved it to myself over and over again. I moved to New York having never been there by myself.
Which is incredible.
She kicked me out on the street and I found my own apartment and made my own way there for 3.5 years by myself with no help from anybody. I moved here by myself. So I keep proving to myself that that's not true. But I think deep down in that little girl, there is still that belief system that I fight against all the time. And I think those things cycle in and out of how much they are in charge of you and how much they are not, but it never goes away. I feel like for me, it never goes away. What? No,
I'm listening to you talk and I'm hearing my therapist in our probably weekly conversation about why don't you believe you can do what you do?
Right. Even though you prove it over and over and over again.
Every day, all day long.
Because that woman said you can't.
Yep. You never
and
had
you take that. It's the internal parent that's in your brain that never leaves.
It's so
well, I also think that there's part of, I think you and I talked about this, like we had to be on our own. No one really took care of us. We were always taking care of everyone else. You were taking care of your dad. I was taking care of my dad. Mm-hmm. And so we don't, at least, and I know I say we because we talked about it, but we don't think that we're entitled to that or we deserve that.
Absolutely.
And so that's one thing not that I got from my mom, but because I was in that situation that I still hold to today.
It's a residual problem.
It is. And it's and I struggle with it all the time. I struggle with that all the time.
Deserving that someone can pick your kids up for you after school one day. Yeah. No, I don't. I really was making that random. I didn't mean that to be specific.
Not that applied on.
Never lets me pick up Carter, and I'm like, he's sitting on the curb. I'm standing in front of him. Just let me put him in the car. Jeez, Lynn. But I'm the same way.
Oh, hi. Yeah,
I know. Because Monday, I'd asked Lynn to drop Isla off at home. She was going to stay home for like an hour by herself. And there was some massive police activity in our neighborhood. And Lynn's like, no, I'm taking her home with me. And I felt so to the core bad for inconveniencing her. Mm-hmm. When in my brain I go, I would do this for Lynn in 2 seconds.
Yeah, I know.
And not think about it twice.
Yep.
And I'm the whole day going, I'm so sorry, Lynn, texting her. I'm so sorry that you have to do this. We bought donuts. I'm so sorry. I'm going to have a ticker tape parade and a clown. Thank you so much. Because I felt so bad because you don't feel like you deserve.
Yeah.
Or you don't feel like, a lot of times I think too, I can do it myself.
Yep.
I have the curse of I can do it myself when it's not necessary that you do it yourself. Because not just about taking care of my dad, like you, I was a latchkey kid. I walked to and from school. I did my own homework. My mom would cook dinner most of the time.
Oh, lucky.
But, I was on my own. She would go out and leave me home alone a lot with all these gay men around. But
so we don't need help from other people.
I don't need it. I don't know how to accept it.
That's it. Yes.
It's accepting it is vulnerable. I think another piece of that is
you're probably right.
Accepting it means you need somebody.
Yep.
And you can't need your mom because you can't have her.
Never did. Yeah, exactly.
You can't have that need. That was something I discovered after Jair. Is I discovered that my brain goes, I have a need. I can't have that need, so I don't get to have that need.
Yeah.
And so that's what I do in a deep, deep way. So I need your help, Lynn, but I can't have that help. So then I'm not going to need that help. So I'm just going to fucking do it myself. And it's not true. It's not true. You need people. You need
that's true.
help.
But that's a byproduct of our upbringing.
100%.
But you'll do anything
For anybody.
For anybody.
That's
because I need to feel needed.
Yes.
I need to feel a host for someone else because that's the role I was brought up to be. I was a host for my dad too in a lot of ways. We'll talk about that next podcast. But that was the role that was imposed upon me. Like my mother got a trauma imposed upon her. This was the trauma that was imposed upon me. And although it doesn't look as bloody and massacre-y as molestation or being beaten, it is an emotional and mental trauma that I carry every day. It's part of the reason that I drank to excess when I was younger. It's part of the reason that I don't ask for help now as much as I would like to have help. This is something that's really screwed up, is that I go, you could just, I was talking about in my time management podcast using this service called Instacart.
Oh, yeah.
I feel guilty that I am not capable of making it to the grocery store. It's not the $10 fucking dollars that it costs.
Right.
It's that I should be able to do this myself.
Yeah. Right.
Which is why I clean my house. Why do I need a house
Myself.
cleaner? Because I feel completely useless.
Oh, the whole time my house cleaner's here, I clean also. To justify that I can clean. It is the dumbest thing ever. My therapist and I have talked about this so many times. She's like, maybe you need another house cleaner that cleans to the plate. I'm like, that's not it. Like if I have a massive headache on that day, I will not allow myself to go, you know what, Sylvia, I'm going to go in my room and close the door.
Yeah,
because I need to be cleaning as hard as you're cleaning.
Yeah.
Because I don't really deserve for you to clean my house. It's the stupidest shit.
Yeah.
And it's from my mother. That's totally from my mother.
Yeah.
That's from her saying, unless you clean the house naked. No.
You can't do it.
It
With your windows open.
It doesn't count unless you clean the house naked. No, but that's something that I go, it's part of what makes us who we are. And who we are, the three of us, have turned out to be really great people.
Yeah, we're a dynamic trio.
Seriously.
With all of these similarities and stories,
the perseverance and the workaround. And, because I think I'm a pretty good mom in spite of the mom I had, because like you said, she gave me a clear roadmap of what not to do. Mm-hmm. I do not want 6 marriages. I do not want to divorce whoever I marry. I do not want my kids to feel like who they are inherently is wrong. Sometimes to a fault. I think sometimes I could guide them a little more into being less who they are, like putting their shit up and stuff like that, but not the core of who they are and how they express themselves. That was a gift.
Yeah.
That was a real gift, because if I hadn't had that self-reflection, I would have been a narcissist too. I would have been just like her. It's my way or the highway, I think. But at a certain point I went, I'm not happy. The key is I'm not happy. I'm not happy with who I am or how I'm behaving. So how do I get happy? And then that's when I started going to therapy and trying to get happy.
Therapy's the best.
Therapy was life-changing for me.
Life-changing.
I think people with trauma like we have, because it causes an incorrect thinking process about a belief system maybe that's incorrect, that has to be modified. I don't know if you can really change it, but I think you can kind of modify it or add to it and relieve some of the bad stuff. I don't know how you do it without therapy. I don't know how you could possibly do it without so much deep self-reflection and modifying.
I don't know that you can. I mean, you're not healthy.
You're not healthy without therapy?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Like you don't function through life being healthy.
Right.
You're not not realistic.
Well, no. And then, but there's always something that's going to catch up with you at some point in time.
Right.
That's going to be directly related to that. Like maybe, I don't know what happened to my mom. I have no idea. She was an alcoholic when my parents got married. So something happened that I'm guessing, completely guess, since she has no relationship with her family, something happened there.
Yeah, you would think.
And so that just must have triggered at some point in time And then after my birth, she started, maybe it was something with her mom, and
it triggered it.
It triggered it. But at least like for me, I don't want to say I caught it, but I was in therapy before kids.
Right.
So that I would not repeat the same patterns.
Because we're conscious people where we go, we need to work on this. This boat ain't gonna ride itself. You got to get some help to right this boat, I think. Or at least that's the way it was for me, is I went, hold on, I have no life skills to do anything different than what I have seen. So how do I come up with those life skills? I started reading incessantly, reading self-help books and trying to figure out. So I know my family dynamic is really fucked up, but it's the only one I know.
Yeah.
So how am I supposed to figure out a healthy dynamic? Like nothing's perfect, but there's got to be a healthy way. And I'll tell you one thing that really helped me. My best friend in middle school, Becky Wood. Becky lived across the street from me, 7th and part of 8th grade. And her family was the typical American, mom and dad happily married. Dad works, mom stay at home, but also works in the dad's business. 4 kids. All the siblings fought like siblings are supposed to fight. Mom made 3 meals a day. There was a closet that had snacks. That blew my fucking mind. I would go in that closet and stand and stare at their closet full of snacks and not take anything because I was afraid I would get in trouble for taking something, which would have happened at my house. When Becky and her brothers and sister would just vroom and clean out the closet in 2 seconds flat, I was just amazed at the way their family worked. And I really think that year and a half of immersion in their family, because we'd get off the school bus and I'd just go to Becky's house.
Yeah.
And I stayed there all day, every day. That gave me a roadmap. But I didn't know I didn't know what boots to wear. I didn't know what to pack in my backpack. I didn't know how to walk that route until I went to therapy. I went, this is actually the route that I want. And I think I've created it with Bert. We have a pretty typical family, and we have pretty typical family friends, which was my experience of Becky and her family. I've said this to Becky and her mom. They were so pivotal and important to me, and I've thanked them so many times in my adult life because I am so humbly grateful for that life experience with that family. They were amazing. I love her. I love you, Becky. She listens sometimes. We are on Facebook. We talk, whatever. But anyway. So I have forgiven my mom.
Completely?
I think as completely as I can. I really, truly, truly want her to be happy.
Yeah.
I really wish her to be really happy. I think she has had probably more pain than I've had in her life without herself acknowledging or really feeling it. Like, she's not self-aware enough to know that she's been in a great deal of pain. And that makes me feel really bad. And I loved her brother. Her brother died of brain cancer, but her brother was a career addict, a deep, dark addict. And he was one of the sweetest guys I knew. And I think that they had the same pain. I think it came from the same trauma.
Yeah.
And I think if I can love my Uncle Terry like that, then I can love my mom like that. Mm-hmm. Because they just took a different path from the same trauma. He just refused to be narcissistic and instead became an addict. And she refused to be an addict and instead became a narcissist. And that's really sad. That's one of the things that fascinates me about how a trauma can break two people in a different manner.
Oh, yeah.
And clearly they're male and female. My mom was older, 2 years older than him. But I believe the trauma came from the same place. And he was one of the sweetest people. He used to call me Leanimus. Leanimus! What's my Leanimus doing, Leanimus? I miss him very much. He ended up being schizophrenic toward the end of his life, but it was like a drug-induced, drug-triggered or something. Yeah. Schizophrenia, and he was out of his mind at the end. But it was amazing to me that two people from the same household would end up in two very different places.
Oh, it's totally, that's my brother and I.
Oh, yeah?
Same upbringing. Two totally different.
Well, how's he different?
I'm the stronger link.
How's he different?
He became a drug addict when he was a kid.
See, that would have been my biggest
sober
fear.
By the time he was 20.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I took my last drink for a long time when I was about probably 21 and a half. I'd been drinking hard since I was about 14.
Yeah, he started doing drugs when he was probably 13 or 14.
Yeah.
So it's so, I mean, the thing is though, it's like the trauma, they talk about it, it's like essentially a bloodline that just whatever trauma your parents went through or our parents went through came from their parents,
right?
Came from their parents,
right?
And all the way up. And even though not the exact same thing happened, it's like you have to break the bloodline.
Well, you know what Gigi told me? She read a research paper or something about Holocaust survivors, and that it travels through your DNA.
Yep.
That trauma is transferred through DNA. So it takes 3 generations for that DNA to be bred out, so to speak.
Oh, wow.
So if I had a traumatic, my kids will have my trauma DNA.
Right.
Which is possibly less than my mother's, but still there.
Still there.
Yeah.
So far, I don't think my kids have had any trauma. I hope. I don't think they have, unless, you call like having Bert as a dad as trauma. Could be traumatic.
Depends on the day, maybe.
Losing a lot of pet fish. But other than that, their trauma's been pretty minor. So I'm hoping like that's the first bloodline that doesn't have it to pass on so much. So then it keep going down. But I thought that was really fascinating too. That takes 3 generations.
Interesting.
To do that. Well, we should wrap this one up so we could talk about dads. Thank you for sharing these experiences with your mom. I think the mother-daughter relationship is so complex and so important. And when you don't have it, or when you don't have it in a way that is healthy, it's amazing how it affects every piece of your life. And I think there's so many people in this world that have a really screwed up relationship with their mom.
Yeah.
And to know that they're not alone, that 3 of us who are friends and in a not so huge group of people have very similar experiences of not great relationships with their mom, hopefully will make other people feel like they're kind of normal. This is not that this is normal, because I don't believe my mom was normal, but that it's not abnormal maybe.
Right.
To have a really fucked up relationship with your mom.
Yeah.
Yeah,
thank you. Thank you for coming up with the idea to talk about it.
Well,
It's intense.
It is intense. It's intense. It makes me deeply sad. Yeah. It makes me sad for the little girl in me that didn't get it.
Yeah.
And sometimes, when you have little girls and I would give them what I wanted, I was so happy to be able to give that. And at the same time would feel such a loss for myself.
Yeah.
Where I go, wow, I never got that. And that would have been really awesome. And how would that have affected me if I had gotten that? Not that going to roller skating parties and your mom doing Girl Scouts. And they did those kinds of things. Not that shit.
Yeah.
The deep emotional piece where I go, oh, you're constipated? It's normal.
Yeah.
I'm not putting paper out in my bathroom floor and watching you squat. I'll just let it pass when it passes. Maybe we'll drink a little prune juice and call it normal.
Yeah,
normal. Yeah.
Well, I think just like one last point. The reason why I do believe it's so much harder with moms too is I read this. There was this great article or story that I read after my mom passed about grief, and you don't like lose a parent like you've lost a pair of keys. It's like your mom is the first connection you have with the world.
Oh, yeah.
You are connected to that human being for 9 months or 10 months or whatever you want to call it before you actually enter the world. So that's the first relationship. And that article kind of talked about that, just how big it really is to lose a mom. I mean, luckily my dad is still alive, so I haven't felt that yet, but you have been physically connected to that person. So it makes it even more traumatic. So then I think when you have a fucked up relationship with them, it makes it even more traumatic, because this is the person that created you,
that made you. And if that person rejects you, you must really be bad.
Yeah.
That's what I've always felt. If the person who made me says I'm bad, I must be really bad.
Yeah.
I remember thinking as a kid, I must be a really bad kid. Straight A student, never in trouble at school.
Yeah.
Never had any issues. I was bullied, but I never bullied any. And I always felt like I was a bad person. Yeah. Always. Until I had to prove to myself I wasn't bad. And I think that may be it. You're right. She's your origin.
Yeah.
And if that person says you're fucked up, then you're definitely fucked up, 100%.
Yeah. Doesn't matter what anybody else says. It was actually very eye-opening. So if anybody pulls anything from this, it's just like it's a huge piece
of the
huge
puzzle
piece that I think a lot of people don't really think about or realize.
Right.
Too.
Well, Judy, whatever your last name is now. I don't know her last name now. I don't even know it. That's weird. Judy, if you're listening, I love you. And thank you for everything you gave me. But don't call my house. Because I'm not answering the phone. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.